Why is there a black child standing in my house? Vincent Castellano didn't bother looking up. Sir, I'm so sorry, my daughter. The school suspended her. I pay you $19 an hour to scrub my toilets, not to bring your kind into my home. Denise lowered her head. Yes, sir. Evelyn laughed from the doorway. Let me see her. Is she why you people can't afford daycare? She tilted her head. Why won't she look at me? Stupid or just defective? She's just different, ma'am. Different. The polite word for slow. Harmony said nothing. She was counting. 3 daily visits. Teddy bear touched twice. Seizures every 72 hours. Down the hall, monitors screamed. He's dying. 6 hours left. 12 doctors had failed. The only one who saw the pattern was the black cleaning lady's defective daughter. But who listens to a whisper from someone who isn't even allowed through the front door? 2 worlds existed inside that $34 million penthouse. They had coexisted for 4 years without ever truly touching. The first world belonged to Vincent Castellano. 8,400 square feet of Italian marble, Renaissance art, and hand-carved mahogany. His private office had been converted into a medical command center, where 4 doctors rotated in shifts around the clock. The best neurologist from Harvard, a toxicologist from Johns Hopkins, specialists who charged $10,000 per consultation, flown in from Munich and London and Tokyo. They had tried everything. Experimental treatments, cutting-edge diagnostics, medications that weren't even approved yet. Nothing worked. Every 72 hours, like clockwork, Marco would seize. Each episode lasted longer than the last. Each time he emerged, he was a little more gone. Dr. Sullivan, the neurologist leading the team, had been clear. If we don't identify the cause before the next seizure, his brain won't survive it. That seizure was 6 hours away. The second world existed through the service entrance. Denise Wilson had cleaned this penthouse 3 times a week for 4 years. She knew every corner, every closet, every family secret that gathered dust in forgotten rooms. She had learned the rules early. Use the service elevator. Don't speak to family members. Don't make eye contact with Mr. Castellano. In 4 years, Vincent Castellano had never asked her name. She earned $19 an hour. After taxes, after the subway fare from Brooklyn, after the groceries that seemed to cost more every month, she barely kept the lights on in their 2-bedroom apartment. But she kept this job. She kept it because jobs like this, steady, predictable, invisible, were the only kind that didn't ask questions when your daughter got suspended from school for the 3rd time. Harmony Wilson sat in the staff room, hunched over a spiral notebook. She was 11 years old, small for her age. She wore her hair in 2 tight braids that her mother had done that morning, and she hadn't looked up from her notebook in 3 hours. Harmony had what the school psychologist called behavioral issues, what the teachers called disturbing tendencies, what the other kids called weird. What Harmony had was a brain that wouldn't stop noticing. She counted everything. 14 steps from the service elevator to the kitchen, 7 chandeliers in the main hallway, 3 security cameras visible from the staff room. The cleaning solution under the sink had been refilled twice this week. She could tell by the water line on the bottle. Most people's brains filtered out the unimportant details. Harmony's brain didn't have that filter. Everything came in at full volume all the time. Right now, she was recording observations about the stepmother. Evelyn Castellano visited Marco's room 3 times per day, 7:03 in the morning, 3:01 in the afternoon. In 10:58 at night, she stayed exactly 51 to 53 minutes each visit. Harmony had written down every single one, 243 data points over 3 days, and something about those numbers made her skin itch. The stepmother always brought the same thing, a brown teddy bear named Bruno, 14 inches tall, hand-stitched in Italy. Marco held it when he slept, or what passed for sleep these days. Evelyn always did the same things in the same order. Kiss Marco's forehead, Adjust the teddy bear so it pressed against his chest. Hold his hand. Cry for 2 to 3 minutes. Adjust the teddy bear again. That was the part that bothered Harmony. The teddy bear was the only thing Evelyn touched twice, every visit, without exception. Harmony had watched a doctor walk right past her mother that morning. He hadn't even glanced in Denise's direction. It was like she was furniture, like she was part of the wall. A security guard had stopped Harmony in the hallway earlier. "Whose kid is this?" he'd asked, looking at her like she was something that had crawled in through the garbage chute. Her mother had hurried over, apologizing, pulling Harmony back toward the staff room. "Don't look at them," Denise had whispered. "Don't say anything. We're invisible here, baby. That's how we keep this job." Invisible. Harmony understood the word. She understood the math of it. $19 times 24 hours times 3 days equaled survival. What she didn't understand was why invisible people weren't allowed to see things. Because she had seen something in the pattern, something that made her brain itch like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. She just didn't know what to do about it yet. Denise Wilson had cleaned this penthouse for 4 years. Not once had anyone asked her name. Tonight, her daughter would make them remember it. Harmony's notebook was filling up. Page after page of numbers, times, observations. She had created a chart mapping Evelyn's visit times against Marco's medical events. The correlation was impossible to ignore, at least impossible for a brain like hers. The seizures always started 8 to 12 hours after Evelyn's 11 p.m. visit. Always. Marco's heart rate increased approximately 24 minutes after physical contact with the teddy bear. Not dramatically, just 3 or 4 beats per minute. Enough that Harmony noticed it on the monitor when she snuck glances through the doorway. No one else seemed to see it, but then again, no one else was looking. "Why do you do this?" her mother had asked once, months ago. "Why can't you just not see things?" Harmony hadn't known how to answer. Her brain didn't come with an off switch. When she was 4 years old, she'd told her grandmother that something was wrong with her words. "Your talking is getting slower, Grandma. 0.3 seconds more every day." Her grandmother had patted her head and called her imaginative. 3 days later, Grandma had a stroke. When Harmony was 7, she'd figured out which kid in her class was stealing lunches from backpacks. The pattern was obvious. He always arrived exactly 4 minutes early on the days things went missing. She told the teacher. The teacher called her mother. The principal used words like accusatory and antisocial. The thief was caught a month later. No one apologized to Harmony. When she was 9, she'd told her teacher that the class hamster was going to die in 2 weeks. She could see it in the way the animal moved, tiny hesitations, an asymmetry in its gait that got worse by 0.2 millimeters each day. The teacher called her morbid. The hamster died 12 days later. Harmony had learned something important from these experiences. Being right didn't protect you. Sometimes being right made everything worse. "Those people are not our people," her mother had told her more than once. "They don't see us. They don't want to see us. We clean, we leave, we don't talk." But Harmony couldn't stop seeing. She stood in the staff room doorway, listening to the doctors argue in the hallway. "Unknown etiology," Dr. Sullivan was saying. "We've exhausted every standard diagnostic pathway." Harmony knew that word. Etiology. She'd read medical journals online, not because she wanted to be a doctor, but because disease patterns fascinated her. The way symptoms connected to causes, the logic of it. She wanted to say something. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. When Harmony got scared, her voice disappeared. Not completely. It shrank down to a whisper, barely audible, like her words were afraid to exist in the open air. The doctors called it selective mutism, a common companion to autism. Her mother called it the sound of a girl who had learned that speaking up only brought pain. At 7 years old, a teacher had screamed at Harmony in front of the whole class for saying weird things. Since that day, her voice had lived in her throat like a frightened animal, refusing to come out when she needed it most. She started rocking slightly. Her hand found the notebook, tapping it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Her self-soothing ritual. One of the doctors glanced over. His eyes passed right through her, like she was made of glass. Of course. The black cleaning lady's weird kid. Not worth noticing. Not worth a second of their Harvard-educated attention. Harmony closed her mouth, went back to her notebook. Evelyn Castellano walked past the staff room at that moment, heading toward Marco's room for her 3 p.m. visit. She glanced in. For half a second, exactly half a second, Harmony counted, their eyes met. And in that half second, something in Evelyn's smile shifted. It was still a smile. The same perfect, loving stepmother smile she always wore. But for that brief instant, it didn't reach her eyes. There was something underneath, something cold, something calculating. Then Evelyn looked away, and the warmth was back, and she continued down the hall as if nothing had happened. Harmony's pen moved across the page. 3 p.m. visit. Eye contact made. Smile did not reach eyes. Duration of anomaly, 0.5 seconds. She didn't know what it meant yet, but she knew it meant something. Harmony knew what she knew. But every time she'd spoken the truth, the world had punished her for it. 4:32 in the morning. Harmony couldn't sleep. The numbers kept spinning in her head, refusing to settle into a pattern she could understand. She lay on the small cot in the staff room, staring at the ceiling, counting the tiles. 62 tiles. She'd counted them 4 times, to be sure. Her mother was somewhere in the penthouse, doing the overnight cleaning shift. The hallways were quiet. The doctors were quiet. Even the machines monitoring Marco seemed to beep more softly in the dark hours. 90 minutes until the predicted seizure. She got up. She knew she shouldn't. She knew the rules. Stay in the staff room, stay invisible, stay quiet. But her brain wouldn't stop itching, and the only way to scratch it was to look closer. The medical command center was dimly lit. Dr. Brennan sat at a workstation reviewing charts. She was the toxicologist, the one who was supposed to find poisons. Harmony approached. She tried to speak in a normal voice. What came out was barely above a whisper. "Excuse me." Dr. Brennan looked up, startled. Her eyes took in Harmony. The braids, the oversized sweater, the spiral notebook clutched like a shield. "Sweetie, you shouldn't be here. Where's your mother?" "I noticed something," Harmony whispered. "About the pattern. The seizures happen 8 to 12 hours after the evening visit. Every time. I have 243 data points." "Doctor." Brennan's expression softened into the particular kind of patience adults used when they'd already decided you were wrong. "That's very observant, honey. But we've run every toxicology panel available. There's no poison in his system." "Did you test the bear?" "The what?" "The teddy bear, Bruno. The stepmother brings it every visit. She touches it twice. Once when she arrives, once before she leaves. It's the only thing she touches twice." Dr. Brennan blinked, glanced at the teddy bear visible through the glass partition, nestled against Marco's chest. "Honey, we test blood, urine, hair samples. Personal items aren't part of diagnostic protocols." "But what if the poison isn't in him yet? What if it's on the bear? What if it absorbs through his skin while he sleeps with it?" For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in Dr. Brennan's eyes. A question, a hesitation. Then she turned to the nurse beside her. "Whose kid is this? Why is she in the medical area?" "The cleaning lady's daughter. I'll have security escort her out." Harmony's chest tightened. Her voice shrank even smaller. "Please, just test the bear. Please." Dr. Brennan patted her shoulder. "Go back to your mother, sweetheart. Let the doctors handle this." 5:15 a.m. Harmony stood outside Marco's room. The door was open a crack. The security guard had stepped away, bathroom break probably. She had maybe 2 minutes. She slipped inside. Marco lay motionless, surrounded by machines. The heart monitor beeped steadily. 139 beats per minute now, slightly elevated from baseline. 6 IV bags dripped their contents into his veins. His skin was pale, almost gray, except for a slight reddish flush where the teddy bear pressed against his chest. Harmony leaned closer to the bear. She didn't touch it. She knew better than that. But she brought her face close enough to smell. There it was. Faint. Chemical. Like the cleaning solution Evelyn used in the bathroom, but different. Sweeter. With a strange undertone that made Harmony's nose wrinkle. She'd smelled something like this before, in her obsessive reading about patterns of crime. Scopolamine. The devil's breath. A drug that could be absorbed through skin, that could cause confusion, seizures, organ failure. She leaned closer to Marco's ear. When Harmony was scared, she could only whisper. But maybe that was okay. Maybe whispers could reach places that shouts couldn't. "I know what's hurting you," she breathed. "The bear isn't your friend. I'm going to help you." The heart monitor changed. 139, 138, 137, 136, 3 beats per minute. His heart rate had dropped 3 beats per minute in response to her voice. Like he'd heard her. Like somewhere in that damaged brain, he was waiting for someone to notice. "Hey!" The security guard stood in the doorway. Harmony froze. Eye contact was impossible. Words were impossible. She stood there, trapped in her own body, unable to explain. "What are you doing in here? This is a restricted area." Her mother appeared behind the guard, face twisted with fear. "Harmony! I told you to stay in the back!" The guard spoke into his radio. "We got an intruder in the patient's room, the cleaning lady's kid." Intruder. Like she was a threat. Like she was the danger here. "I'm so sorry," Denise was saying, pulling Harmony toward the door. "It won't happen again. She's just curious. She didn't mean any harm." The guard looked at Denise with barely concealed contempt. "You people are lucky Mr. Castellano is too distracted to deal with this. One more incident and you're gone. Both of you." In the hallway, Denise gripped Harmony's shoulders. Her hands were trembling. "Baby, please, not now, not here. I can't lose this job." "Mama, the bear is wrong." The words came out in a desperate whisper. "The bear is making him sick. I can smell it. It smells like scopolamine." "Harmony, but he's going to die. He's going to die, and they won't listen. And I know what's wrong, but nobody will listen to me." A movement at the end of the hallway. Evelyn Castellano stood there, watching them. She was too far away to have heard Harmony's whisper, but her eyes were fixed on the girl, and there was nothing warm in them now. Nothing warm at all. Harmony had whispered to a dying boy. Now she had 90 minutes to make someone else listen. 5:45 in the morning. The staff room was cold. Harmony sat on the cot, knees pulled to her chest, rocking slightly. Her notebook lay open beside her, 243 observations staring up at the ceiling. Denise sat across from her, exhausted, afraid, trying to understand. "Why do you do this?" she asked softly. "Why can't you just not see things?" Harmony was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a thread of sound. "My brain doesn't have a filter, Mama. Everything comes in, all the time. I can't not see. I tried. I tried for years. It doesn't stop. But every time you say something, every time you notice something, it ends badly. The neighbor's dog, the kid at school, the hamster. I was right about all of them." "I know, baby. I know you were. But being right doesn't matter if nobody believes you." Harmony looked down at her hands. "At school, they say I'm broken. They say my brain doesn't work right." Denise moved to sit beside her daughter. She took Harmony's hands in her own. Work-roughened hands, hands that had scrubbed floors and toilets and other people's messes for 15 years. "When you were 7, Denise said quietly, your teacher screamed at you in front of the whole class. Do you remember? Harmony nodded. She remembered everything. That was part of the problem. After that day, your voice started disappearing. The doctors called it selective mutism. They said it was connected to your autism, that it happens sometimes when there's trauma. I know what it's called. But I know what it really is. Denise squeezed her hands. It's not a defect, baby. It's your heart trying to protect you. You learned that speaking up brings pain, so your voice hides when you're scared. That's not broken. That's survival. Harmony was quiet. The world isn't ready for a brain like yours, Denise continued. They see a black girl who can't look them in the eye, who whispers instead of talks, who notices things they don't want noticed, and they call that broken. But I'm not. No, baby. You're not broken. You're just tuned to a different frequency. Harmony looked at her notebook. 243 data points. Charts. Correlations. A pattern that no one else could see. If I'm right, she whispered, and we don't try, a boy dies. He's 12 years old, Mama. He's 12, just like me. Denise closed her eyes, drew a breath. If you're wrong, we lose everything. This job, the apartment, everything. I know. Silence stretched between them. The clock on the wall ticked. 60 minutes until the predicted seizure. Denise opened her eyes, looked at her daughter, really looked, maybe for the first time in years. Then we better not be wrong, she said, and we better find someone who will listen to a whisper. For 11 years, Harmony had been told she saw too much and spoke too little. Tonight, her whisper might be the only thing that mattered. 6:15 in the morning, 30 minutes until the predicted seizure. Denise Wilson walked through the penthouse with her daughter beside her, past the service areas, past the invisible boundaries she had never crossed in 4 years of employment. The security guard at the medical command center stepped forward. Staff isn't allowed here. Denise didn't lower her eyes. For the first time in 4 years, she met his gaze directly. I need to speak to Mr. Castellano. It's about his son. The guard laughed. The cleaning lady has medical advice? And who's this? Your little helper? My daughter might know what's killing that boy. Right. And I'm the Pope. Get back to... What is this? The voice cut through the hallway like a blade. Vincent Castellano stood in the doorway of the command center. 52 years old, silver hair, a tailored vest even at 6 in the morning, but his eyes were hollow, bruised with 11 days of sleeplessness, 11 days of watching his only son die by inches. He looked at Denise and Harmony the way you might look at insects that had crawled onto your dinner plate. The cleaning lady, sir, the guard said, says her kid knows something about Marco. Vincent's gaze dropped to Harmony. She was staring at his left shoulder. Eye contact was impossible. You have 30 seconds, Denise nudged her daughter. Tell him, baby. Tell him what you told me. Harmony opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The fear was too big. Too many people watching. Too many eyes. Her voice had retreated somewhere deep inside her chest, and she couldn't find it. She started rocking. Her hand found her notebook, tapping it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Dr. Sullivan appeared behind Vincent. Mr. Castellano, the child is clearly disturbed. We don't have time for this. 20 seconds. Denise's heart was pounding, but she understood her daughter in ways no one else did. She can't speak in crowds, Denise said, but she can whisper. Let her whisper to you. Just you. Then you decide if it's worth hearing. I don't have time for games. Denise looked Vincent Castellano in the eye. The Mafia boss. The killer. The man who had never once acknowledged her existence. Neither does your son. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. A crack in the stone. Everyone out, he said. Except them. Dr. Sullivan protested. "Mr. Castellano, this is absurd." "Out!" The command center emptied. The door closed. Just Vincent, Denise, Harmony, and 25 minutes until the seizure. Vincent pulled a chair over and sat down, bringing himself to Harmony's eye level. It was the first time in his life he had lowered himself for anyone. "Okay, kid. Whisper." Harmony stared at his left shoulder, leaned closer. Her lips nearly touched his ear. And finally, the words came out. "It's the bear, Mr. Castellano. Your wife is poisoning your son through the teddy bear." Vincent went rigid. The color drained from his face. "Say that again." Harmony's whisper continued, steady and certain. "The teddy bear. Bruno. She touches it twice every visit. Once when she arrives, to activate the poison. Once before she leaves, to refresh it. The poison absorbs through Marco's skin when he holds it. That's why it happens every 72 hours. The seizures start 8 to 12 hours after her 11 p.m. visit, when he sleeps with the bear longest. Every time. I have 243 data points. The pattern never breaks." Vincent stared at her for 5 full seconds. Then he stood, walked to the door, opened it. "Everyone, back in here. Now. Every single one of you." 5 doctors filed in. Dr. Sullivan, Dr. Brennan, Dr. Patterson, Dr. Hartman, Dr. Collins. "Stand there," Vincent said. "Don't speak. Just listen." He turned to Harmony. "Tell them what you just told me. Every word." The room went silent. Absolutely silent. Harmony didn't look at any of them. She stared at the floor, rocking slightly, and she whispered. In that silence, every word was perfectly audible. "The teddy bear. Mrs. Castellano touches it twice every visit. Once when she arrives, to activate. Once before she leaves, to refresh. She's putting poison on the fur. It absorbs through Marco's skin when he holds it. The poison is scopolamine. I can smell it. It smells sweet, with a chemical undertone. That's why the seizures happen every 72 hours. They start 8 to 12 hours after her 11 p.m. visit. That's when Marco sleeps with the bear longest. The pattern never breaks. I have 243 data points in this notebook. Every single one points to the bear." 1 second of silence. 2 seconds. Then the room fell apart. Dr. Sullivan's coffee cup slipped from his fingers. It shattered on the marble floor. He didn't seem to notice. He just stood there, mouth open, staring at the 11-year-old girl who wouldn't meet his eyes. She just... Dr. Brennan grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. Her face had gone white. "That's impossible. We tested for scopolamine. The blood panel was negative." Harmony kept whispering, still staring at the floor. "You tested his blood, not the bear. The bear is the source. Scopolamine is fat-soluble. It accumulates in fatty tissue before showing up in blood. By the time it reaches detectable levels in blood, the damage is already catastrophic." Dr. Patterson was flipping through medical records, hands shaking so badly the papers rattled. "We never tested the bear. It's not in any protocol. Personal items aren't. We didn't even think." Dr. Hartman, the specialist who had flown 4,000 miles from Munich, sank into a chair. He removed his glasses and pressed his palms against his eyes. "Mein Gott, she is 11 years old. I have 40 years of experience. And a child who cannot look me in the eye just found what I couldn't see." Dr. Collins, the one who had dismissed Harmony just hours earlier, stood frozen, his face flushing crimson with shame. "This morning," he said hoarsely. "She came to me this morning. She asked about the bear, and I told her to go back to her mother. I called her disturbed." Dr. Sullivan's voice cracked. I've handled 832 cases in my career, 30 years. Harvard, Yale. Never, never has a child seen what I missed. Vincent cut through the chaos. Test the bear. Now! Dr. Brennan moved toward Marco's room to retrieve the teddy bear. 52 minutes later, she returned. Her face was gray. Her hands trembled as she held the report. The bear's stuffing contains concentrated scopolamine derivatives, she said, her voice barely steady, combined with DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, as a transdermal carrier. The combination allows the toxin to absorb directly through skin contact. She swallowed. The dosage is precise. Medical grade precise. This wasn't contamination. This was deliberate. Dr. Sullivan sat down heavily. She was right. The girl was right. Every single word. The door opened. Evelyn Castellano walked in, smiling, carrying a gift bag. Vincent, darling, what's happening? Why is everyone... She spotted Harmony. Why is the cleaning lady's daughter here? Vincent turned to face his wife. Where did you get that teddy bear, Evelyn? Bruno. In Rome, remember? For Marco's birthday. Her smile flickered. Why? You touch it twice every visit. Once when you arrive. Once before you leave. I just adjust it, to make sure he's comfortable. Harmony's whisper cut through the room. No one else touches it twice. Only you. Every visit. Without exception. Evelyn's mask cracked. For 1 second, just 1 second, the loving stepmother vanished. What appeared underneath was cold, empty, hungry. Then the mask slammed back into place, but it was too late. Everyone had seen. Guards, Vincent said quietly. Take my wife to the study. She doesn't leave until I say so. As they led her away, Evelyn screamed. I loved him. I was the only one who was there, every single day. Where were you, Vincent? The door closed behind her. And in the silence that followed, everyone realized the same thing. They had found the killer. But Marco's next seizure was 18 minutes away, and knowing who poisoned him wasn't the same as knowing how to save him. Every doctor in that room had been shocked twice, first by the whisper, then by the truth. But the poison was still in Marco's blood, and time was running out. 7:02 in the morning. The seizure hit like a thunderclap. Marco's body arched off the bed, every muscle contracting at once. The monitors screamed, heart rate spiking to 198 beats per minute, blood pressure crashing, oxygen saturation plummeting. The medical team swarmed around him. Hold him steady! He's aspirating! Suction now! V-fib! He's going into V-fib! The seizure lasted 4 minutes and 22 seconds. The longest yet. When it finally stopped, Marco lay motionless, his skin gray, his lips tinged blue. Dr. Sullivan's voice was grim. His brain is swelling. If we don't reduce intracranial pressure in the next 30 minutes, the damage will be permanent. What about the antidote? Vincent demanded. You know what poison it is now. There must be an antidote. Dr. Brennan shook her head. Standard scopolamine treatment is physostigmine, but he's had 11 days of cumulative exposure. The toxin has built up in his fatty tissues. The dose we'd need to counteract it could stop his heart. So do nothing, and he dies. Do something, and he might die. That's essentially correct. Vincent turned away. His fist hit the wall hard enough to crack the plaster. 11 days. 11 days his wife had been poisoning his son. 11 days she had sat beside Marco's bed, held his hand, cried her perfect tears. And he had believed her. He had trusted her. I let her into my home, he said, his voice raw. I let her into his room. I let her hold him while she killed him. No one knew what to say. In the corner, Harmony was reading. Her mother's phone glowed in her hands, screens scrolling through medical journals. Her brain was doing what it always did, searching for patterns, connections, solutions that others couldn't see. There's another way. Her whisper was so soft that at first no one heard. Denise heard. She touched Dr. Brennan's arm. My daughter says there's another way. Dr. Sullivan turned, frustration evident. We're not taking treatment advice from a child. Not again. Vincent's voice cracked like a whip. That child just found what 12 specialists couldn't. That child just exposed my wife as a murderer. If she has something to say, you're going to listen. Harmony kept her eyes on the phone, whispering. Denise translated, her voice steady. Lipid emulsion therapy. It's normally used for anesthesia overdoses, but the mechanism works for any fat-soluble toxin. The fat molecules create what's called a lipid sink. They bind to the poison in the tissues and pull it into the bloodstream, where it can be filtered out by the kidneys. Dr. Brennan grabbed her own phone, searching. Her eyes widened. She's right. There's a Johns Hopkins paper from 2021. It's experimental, never been tried specifically for scopolamine, but the chemistry is sound. The lipid molecules would theoretically attract the drug out of his fatty tissues. Theoretically? It's never been done before, not for this. Vincent looked at his son. Gray-skinned, barely breathing. 18 minutes from permanent brain damage. Do it. Mr. Castellano, I have to be clear. This is experimental, untested. If it doesn't work, if you don't try, he dies anyway. Do it. Dr. Brennan hesitated for one more second. Then she started barking orders. I need a 20% lipid emulsion stat. Set up an IV push. We're doing a bolus dose followed by continuous infusion. Monitor his cardiac rhythm constantly. If he goes into VTAC, we defibrillate immediately. The team moved with desperate efficiency. Within 3 minutes, the IV was set. The white, milky lipid solution began flowing into Marco's veins. Harmony watched through the glass, still rocking slightly, still counting. She counted the drips. She counted the seconds. She counted her own heartbeats. She had been right about the poison. Now everything depended on whether she was right about the cure. Harmony had been right once. In 20 minutes, they would know if she could be right twice. The first 10 minutes were agonizing. Harmony stood at the glass partition, watching the monitors, counting everything. Heart rate 156, then 152, then 148, then 144, dropping. Slowly, but dropping. He's stabilizing, Dr. Patterson reported, barely believing his own words. Slightly, but he's stabilizing. Dr. Brennan was monitoring the blood work in real time. Scopolamine levels in his blood are actually rising. That sounds bad, but it's exactly what we want. The lipid sink is working. It's pulling the toxin out of his tissues and into his bloodstream where we can filter it. How much does it need to drop? Vincent asked. 60% minimum before we're out of the danger zone. Minute 15. Marco's heart rhythm went wrong. The monitor shrieked. The even beeping dissolved into chaos. VTAC! He's going into ventricular tachycardia! The medical team converged. Dr. Sullivan started chest compressions. Dr. Collins prepared the defibrillator. Charging to 200 joules. Clear! Marco's body jolted. The monitor showed a flat line for 1 terrible second. Then, beep, beep, beep. Sinus rhythm. Heart rate 142, dropping to 138, then 134. Harmony let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Denise put her arm around her daughter. Don't watch, baby. No. Harmony's whisper was firm. I need to see. I need to know if I was right. She forced herself to watch, to witness, to carry this moment, whatever it became. Minute 20. Blood work's back, Dr. Brennan announced. Scopolamine levels are down 40% from peak. Is that enough? Not yet. We need 60% to be safe. but we're moving in the right direction. Minute 25. Marco's color was changing. The grayish pallor was fading, replaced by something closer to normal flesh tone. His breathing was steadier, deeper. Dr. Sullivan shook his head in disbelief. I've never seen anything like this. Dr. Brennan was staring at Harmony through the glass. Neither have I. And I almost didn't listen. Minute 30. Final blood work, Dr. Brennan said, her voice cracking with emotion. Scopolamine levels are down 65%. Brain swelling is responding to treatment. His vitals are stabilizing across the board. And then, Marco's eyelids fluttered. His fingers twitched. His hand moved, reaching for something beside him, reaching for where the teddy bear used to be, finding nothing. His hand relaxed, and somehow, impossibly, a tiny bit of tension seemed to leave his face. Dr. Sullivan stepped back from the bed. He's going to need months of rehabilitation, maybe longer. There may be some cognitive effects we won't know about for years. He paused. But I think he's going to make it. Vincent Castellano, the man who had ordered murders without flinching, who had built an empire on fear and violence, sat down heavily in a chair. He put his face in his hands. His shoulders shook. When he finally looked up, his eyes found Harmony through the glass. She was still there, still rocking slightly, still unable to meet his gaze. He stood, walked to the partition, opened the door. The doctors parted for him automatically. Everyone parted for Vincent Castellano. He walked straight to Harmony and knelt down, putting himself at her eye level. I don't know how to thank you. She looked at his shoulder. You don't have to. Marco is awake. That's enough. No, it's not. His voice was rough with emotion. 4 years your mother has worked for me. 4 years. I never knew her name. I never looked at her. I never looked at you. He took a breath. You saved my son. You saw what 12 doctors couldn't see. You spoke up even when everyone told you to be quiet, even when you could barely speak at all. Harmony was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, We were always here, Mr. Castellano. You just weren't looking. The words hung in the air. Behind her, Dr. Sullivan approached. He knelt down, too, the Harvard-educated neurologist, 30 years of experience, kneeling beside a Mafia boss to address an 11-year-old cleaning lady's daughter. I owe you an apology, he said. When you tried to tell me about the bear, I dismissed you. I saw a child and assumed you couldn't know what doctors didn't. I was wrong. I'm deeply, profoundly sorry. Dr. Brennan joined them. We all were. We were so focused on what we knew, we forgot to see what was right in front of us. Dr. Patterson asked the question everyone was thinking. How did you know? Not just about the poison, about the treatment. How did you know about lipid emulsion therapy? Harmony's whisper was matter-of-fact. I didn't know. I saw a pattern. And then I read until I understood it. That's all. Dr. Sullivan shook his head. That's not all. That's called research. That's called diagnosis. That's called medicine. He paused. You're 11 years old, and you just practiced better medicine than any of us. Vincent stood, turned to Denise, who had been standing in the background, tears streaming silently down her face. Denise Wilson, he said. I've been told that's your name. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Your daughter has a gift. I don't understand it. I doubt anyone in this room understands it, but I know value when I see it. He paused. I was blind before. I'm not blind anymore. On the bed, Marco's eyes fluttered open. The first word he tried to say was too soft to hear. Dr. Brennan leaned close. What is it, sweetheart? What do you need? Marco's cracked lips formed a single word. Who? He tried again, fighting through the fog of medication and trauma. Who saved me? Every eye in the room turned to Harmony. She stood there, small and quiet, still rocking slightly, still unable to meet anyone's gaze. But for the first time in her life, she didn't feel invisible. 12 doctors had failed. One girl with a whisper had succeeded. And nothing in that penthouse would ever be the same. 3 weeks later, Marco Castellano sat in a wheelchair in the rehabilitation wing of Mount Sinai Hospital, working through a physical therapy exercise that involved squeezing a foam ball. His grip was weak. 11 days of poisoning had taken a toll on his motor control, but it was getting stronger every day. The doctors said full recovery would take 6 to 8 months. There might be some lingering cognitive effects, memory issues, difficulty concentrating. But he was alive, and that was more than anyone had expected 3 weeks ago. The stepmother, he said, still struggling with the word. She's in jail? His father sat across from him. Vincent Castellano looked different these days, older somehow, but also more present. He visited every day now. He hadn't missed a single session. Arrested, charged with attempted murder. Vincent paused. The investigation found something else, too. Before me, she was married to a man named Thomas Whitfield. They had a nephew living with them, 7 years old. Same symptoms you had. Same pattern. Marco went still. What happened to him? He died. They ruled it natural causes. Vincent's jaw tightened. It wasn't natural causes. It was her. She's done this before. The foam ball dropped from Marco's fingers. The girl, he said. The one who figured it out. She solved that case too? Her pattern recognition identified a killer no one else saw. She didn't just save your life, Marco. She gave that little boy's family the truth they never had. 2 weeks after Marco's awakening, Dr. Brennan published a case study in the New England Journal of Medicine. The title, Pattern Recognition in Pediatric Toxicology, a case study in non-standard diagnostic methodology. Harmony Wilson was credited as primary diagnostic contributor. Medical schools around the country requested interviews. News outlets wanted to run features. Everyone wanted to know about the 11-year-old autistic girl who had outdiagnosed a team of world-renowned specialists. Harmony didn't care about any of that. She just wanted to know if she'd understood the chemistry correctly. 1 month after the incident, Vincent called Denise and Harmony to his study. On his desk lay 2 folders. 4 years you've worked for me, he said to Denise. 4 years, and I never knew your name, never acknowledged your existence. That changes now. He slid the first folder toward her. Director of Household Operations for all Castellano properties. Salary, $180,000 per year. Full benefits. Retirement plan. You'll be managing a staff of 32 people. Denise stared at the folder. Mr. Castellano, I don't know what to say. Say yes. You've earned it. More than earned it. He turned to Harmony and slid the second folder across. Full scholarship to Whitmore Academy. Best STEM prep school on the East Coast. $52,000 a year tuition, paid in full. After that, college. Any school that accepts you, any program you want. All expenses covered. Harmony looked at the folder, then at Vincent's shoulder. I have a condition. Vincent's eyebrows rose. You're negotiating with me? Yes. For a moment, something like amusement flickered across his face. What's your condition? I want access to unsolved cases, medical mysteries, patterns that nobody has found yet. I want to keep looking. Vincent stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was the first real laugh anyone had heard from him in months. You have a deal, kid. The day before Harmony started at Whitmore Academy, she visited Marco in rehabilitation. He was walking now, slowly, with a physical therapist beside him, but walking. His grip strength had improved by 40%. His cognitive tests were trending upward. "You're the one who figured it out," he said, when the therapist gave them a moment alone. "Dad told me everything. He said you whispered it, that you literally whispered the answer because you couldn't talk louder." Harmony stared at his shoulder. "I noticed a pattern. Anyone could have. But they didn't." Marco's voice was firm. 12 doctors from 3 continents, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, specialists from Germany. None of them saw it. You did. He held out his hand. "I'm Marco. I guess you probably already know that." Harmony looked at his hand. Eye contact was still impossible, but she reached out and shook it. "I'm Harmony. I'm not good at talking to people." "That's okay." Marco smiled. "Apparently you don't need to be loud to save someone's life. Sometimes a whisper is enough." For the first time in a long time, maybe the first time ever, Harmony almost smiled. "I have to go," she whispered. "School starts tomorrow." "Will you visit again?" She considered the question seriously, the way she considered everything. "Yes, I think I will." As she walked out, Marco called after her. "Hey, Harmony?" She paused in the doorway. "Thank you for seeing me when no one else did." She nodded once. Then she was gone. Harmony Wilson walked into that penthouse as the cleaning lady's strange daughter. She walked out as something the world had never bothered to see. Someone worth listening to. 2 months later. Whitmore Academy. First day of school. Harmony stood at the entrance wearing her new uniform, navy blazer, gray skirt, white blouse. She had insisted on wearing it exactly as specified in the handbook. She liked rules. Rules made sense. Denise crouched down to her daughter's level. "You nervous?" Harmony considered the question. 63% nervous, 37% curious. Denise smiled. "Sounds about right. The other students will think I'm strange." "Probably. They might not want to talk to me." "Maybe not at first. But that's okay." Harmony said it like she was testing the words, seeing if they fit. Being quiet was never the problem. The problem was people who didn't know how to listen. Denise's eyes glistened. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm not wise, I just see patterns." Harmony paused. "And I've seen the pattern of people who succeed. It's not about being loud. It's about being right, and being patient, and waiting for someone to finally pay attention." Denise pulled her daughter into a hug. "Go show them what a whisper can do." Harmony walked through the doors of Whitmore Academy. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. Because for the first time in 11 years, she wasn't walking into a room where she'd have to prove she belonged. She was walking into her future. Harmony Wilson had never been loud. She had never been normal. She had never been the kind of person that the world noticed. But she had saved a life with a whisper. She had exposed a killer with a notebook. She had seen what 12 doctors couldn't see. And she was just getting started. Different isn't broken. Quiet isn't empty. And sometimes, the person nobody notices is the only one who sees the truth. Harmony Wilson didn't save a life by shouting. She saved it with a whisper. Sometimes that's all it takes, if someone is finally willing to listen. If this story reminded you that different isn't broken, that the quietest voice in the room might hold the loudest truth, then you already understand why these stories matter. A like, a subscribe, that's how you tell me to keep finding people like Harmony. The ones who whisper while the world shouts, the ones who see what the rest of us miss.